listening to Withstood, produced by Crossbrand.
All right, folks, we are honored to have some really cool guests here. I'm thankful to call them friends, but let me just give you a little teaser here. What does a crash on an interstate in Arizona and a broken arm have to do with today? Well, you're going to hear in just a moment. Please welcome Jeremy and Kelli Barr. Hey, folks, welcome to the Withstood podcast. We have two of our dear friends here today that we're going to be talking to. We've looked forward to this interview. You know, sometimes we interview folks that have huge stories that are in the public eye constantly. But today we are going to tone it down just a little bit. Trust me, there's a Withstood theme that runs through Jeremy and Kelli Barr's life. However, it is more of a quiet one. And some of you that are, especially you Crossbrand folks that have known Jeremy and Kelli a long time, know parts of their story. And so today we're going to unpack the whole thing, if that's all right.
Oh, boy.
Yep, we're going to unpack the whole thing. So, Jeremy, introduce yourself and your family. Of course, the kids ain't here, but Jeremy Barr.
Jeremy Barr, been married to Kelli for 23 years here next month. Been together 25. We met when we were 19, and we've kind of been 19 and crazy ever since. And, the whole time. We've got our son's almost 21, and he's a lineman with a local power company, and our daughter just graduated college at 19 and doing well for both of them.
Perfect. Y'all are in the Lindale area, isn't that right?
That's right, just west of Lindale. We've been there almost since we moved here to Texas.
Now, when did y'all move to Texas?
Officially, we had everybody out here, the kids, Kelli and I, in September of 16. They come out in August.
I didn't realize it had been that long, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Kelli, did he get all that story right?
He did. He drove the kids out in August to start school, and I followed him in September.
Wow.
We did the final trip with all the animals, the dogs, the horses.
From
Northern Arizona, just outside Prescott and Mare.
Yeah. You got lots of good stories and memories of Prescott, Arizona, too.
You know, it was a wonderful place to raise our kids. I mean, it really, the people there that we surrounded ourselves with and the experiences that we got to do in a very small town up in the mountains, and just a wonderful place to kind of set a foundation before we come out here.
Yeah. And, of course, this has nothing to do necessarily with a Withstood story, but why'd you pick Texas?
Kelli's parents moved out here a couple years before we did, and we just kept coming out to visit and just fell in love with East Texas.
Yeah, good. That's a common thread, too.
Oh, you can see it.
Sure glad you found us. So let's go back. What were you doing? So you graduated from where? High school?
Graduated high school in eastern Colorado, up Crowley County in Ordway.
Yeah, ranching country.
It is, yes, sir.
And these guys still go back from time to time for brandings and different gatherings up there. You chose the Marine Corps.
I did.
Out of high school.
Yeah, just out of high school, kind of screwed around for a little bit, you know, being an 18-year-old kid that wanted to try out a few things, and said, you know what, I need to go. And so I ended up in California out there.
And you were in the Marine Corps for how long?
I did 4 years.
4 years. And he won't tell you, but he was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. He never seems to want to tell anybody that, right, Kelli?
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. And you guys met where, Kelli?
So we had moved back. My dad traveled growing up working for hotels, and it was going to be my senior year in high school, and he wanted to move us back to the States because we were living overseas in Cairo, Egypt.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did 3 years there.
Oh, my goodness.
So I got to travel a lot over there. It was wonderful.
And you met this guy?
And I met him, came back.
A jarhead.
A jarhead. Mm-hmm. Been with him ever since.
My goodness. And Jeremy is giving me a painstaking grin right now, like that was such an ordeal.
Well, we were both fish out of water in Southern California. You know, she's actually an Oklahoma girl. You know.
Oh, really?
And so it's, you know, we both didn't fit in California very well, and we
but
kind of
we were.
Yeah, there we were, kind of blind dated. And,
yeah.
That's it.
That's good. And not only were you in the Marine Corps, but you were slipping off doing something that I'm not sure that your superiors would have approved. You was rodeoing a little bit, weren't you?
A little bit, yeah. Had some injuries that kind of ended that, and then that is weird how God works, because about the same time that was going on, that's when Kelly showed up.
Yeah, yeah. So you were dating a cripple.
Yes, that's the only reason why I met him. I ran into a high school friend, and she goes, "There's a couple guys that we're gonna go out with tonight," and it was because he had a shoulder injury and couldn't make that rodeo.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why.
I'll be dang. So you were 4 years in the Marine Corps.
I did.
And you guys got married after the Marine Corps?
No, we got married in 2000. We got married. I'd been in since '97, so we'd met after my first year. So we were together the 3 of my 4 years on active duty and deployments and all that stuff together.
Those years you were in the Marine Corps, would you encourage other young men and ladies to pursue the Marine Corps now?
You know, I would. I mean, everybody wants to talk about political and who the commander-in-chief is. Well, you're not serving the commander-in-chief. You're serving the country.
Yeah.
And so as politics ebb and flow and kind of change and that, but the experiences that I got to do and see the world and multiple deployments and the friendship and the, you know, all the intangibles. Everybody wants to talk about college money and all this stuff, but, you know, the stuff that I did there set me up for the rest of my life, and the friends that we still have together are just lifelong friends.
Are you even now? How old are you now?
43.
So at 43, are you still utilizing Marine Corps skills and some of the disciplines that you learned then?
Oh, it's ingrained in you, and it just becomes who you are. And you know, it helped me in my my previous career and dealing with people and the leadership and the self-discipline to take care of your business that that you get to do.
Okay, well, Jeremy, I need to go down another little track here. We're going to transition into one of the most incredible Withstood stories that honestly I ever heard, and you wouldn't hear Jeremy telling you this. We actually found out at Crossbrand accidentally. Somebody was snooping on you, checking you out because you were going to move into a position of leadership here at Crossbrand, helping us with our safety and security. And I guess somebody was snooping your background, and we found an interesting thing that you shouldn't have walked away from. And so if you don't want to tell this part, you can let Kelly tell it. But let's talk about after the Marine Corps. Where'd you go?
We got out of the Marine Corps, and we had an opportunity to go to Arizona, and I got into law enforcement there, and spent 15-year career there in Arizona before we moved here in law enforcement as a trooper. As
a state trooper.
Yes, sir.
All right. You were somewhere around Prescott at that time. Yeah. And so during that time, of course, I know that you know, a lot of people coming out of the military go into law enforcement. Did you ever think you'd be in law enforcement? When you were an 18-year-old, did you ever think you'd be in law enforcement?
You know, I grew up wanting to be a fireman or a rancher. That's it. You know, and I had no clue. Some opportunities opened the door in the Marine Corps, and I got to do some pretty neat things that, you know, and realize that, wait a minute, I could do this. I could do this on the outside. And, you know, law enforcement, different tactical units, and just different things to do. And so that's was kind of a weird deal, and just said, I'm going to go for it. And
how did you feel when he transitioned into law enforcement, Kelly?
It's totally up his alley.
Yeah.
And truly, it was a very easy transition.
Before the event that took place on the interstate that we're about to talk about, were there any concerns or regrets that you had? Any times that you wanted to kind of yank his chain and ask him to do another career path?
No, because right from the get-go, when we first had our son Ty, we were living down in Phoenix for the first year and a half, and I mean, flipped on the news in the morning and he was on it. So I mean, it's been that way, or it was that way for 15 years.
Yeah.
There was calls I'd get, and he'd be like, "Don't worry, I know I'm late. Just I'm okay. I'll be home as soon as I can."
Wow. What was the major crimes that you dealt with?
You know, I worked the major interstate between Phoenix and I-40, and so it was a little bit of everything between the drug smuggling, human smuggling, just your criminals travel, and accidents, drug investigations, kidnappings, homicide suspects. I mean, everybody's mobile, and that was the only interstate north-south between Phoenix and I-40. And so
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Criminal activity. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about that day, if you don't mind.
No, it was the interstates out there, just like everywhere, have wrong-way drivers. And throughout my career, I dealt with a handful, and it's that's pretty dangerous. When you've got someone that is either impaired or in the other case is elderly, and where they have some type of medical issue that they don't understand what's going on, and they don't know where they're at. And when you're driving 70, 75 miles an hour on the interstate, and you're driving into oncoming traffic that's doing the same, on a busy road, it can be quite dangerous. And ended up had one coming up the mountain pass, and I was the only guy working in the whole part of the state, and I didn't have much choice. And it was the second one I'd rammed intentionally in 2 years, and it was just one of those things where I tried to set a quick prayer and line them up like I was hoping to, and was successful and took them out.
Yeah. So you took him out. I've seen some pictures. How did that fare with you? What all injuries?
Well, make it short and sweet. I broke my back and neck in 8 places, and so that's created some issues. And God's good, and I'm on overtime.
When was that accident?
It was August of 2015.
August of 2015. A really hot day in Arizona.
Yeah, just before 6 a.m. Gentleman thought he was 100 miles away from where he was.
And he was drinking, though.
He was. He had been drinking throughout the night, and it was one of those things where he thought he was in one part of the state, and when I introduced him to where he was, he didn't believe me.
Yeah. So those injuries that occurred that day, what did that do to your career?
Well, it ended it. There was nothing. The amount of, normally on a back injury, it's very isolated. So you'll have something in your lower back, your upper back, your mid back. Well, I basically slinkied my back from my neck to my belt. And so we tried a bunch of stuff, and it took me about 9 months I was off work for a year, but it took me about 9 months to finally come to terms that I was probably not going back to work.
Yeah. Emotionally, what was that like?
That was probably one of the most telling times of my life and our marriage, for sure, because, I went from being able to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and to a point where I couldn't even drive. She'd have to take me to appointments, and, could get in and out of a chair without help. And so, the kids were 7th grade, junior high, and they went from having a dad that's out playing basketball with the high school kids and working ranches and riding and doing that stuff to not being able to walk more than just a few feet at a time. So,
oh my gosh,
it was an adjustment for sure.
What was that like on you and the kids, Kelly? Well, tell me about when you got the call. Who called you?
It was actually a friend. The phone rang, and he goes, "Have you talked to Mark?" Now, Mark was a fellow DPS officer that Jeremy worked with. I knew something was wrong. No, I said, "I haven't talked to Mark." He goes, "Well, don't worry." He goes, "I'm coming to get you and the kids right now. Jeremy's been in a wreck. I'm going to take you to Phoenix. We're going to go see him."
She had actually missed my phone call. I tried calling her. She was out feeding horses. So she missed my phone call because I was trying to let her know that a guy I'd worked with for a long time was coming to get her and the kids, because the helicopters were down. They couldn't fly them they were going to take me to Phoenix to the hospital. So I called a buddy, and I'm like, "Man, I can't get a hold of Kelly, and I got a lot going on right here at this accident," because it took a while to get some help there. Because it was just a real rural, part that was just kind of in the middle of
Nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. So
Yeah, I can see that. Emotionally, spiritually, what were those 6 months like?
I mean, it was a challenge just for the fact of how that was a long year total. Basically, my rec was about 4 days shy of a year before they retired me. And it was a gamut of emotions, because going through different therapies and seeing neurosurgeons and doing all these different types of treatments, trying to go, and that it was pretty taxing, because we were here we are, just completely had our world turned upside down. And so we just kept we knew things were going to work out, but not understanding how or where or what, or it was literally like you hit a wall and you got to figure out what you're going to do.
How in the world did you, okay, so let me back up. I know for a fact, because of my relationship with y'all, that that was August of 2015, and you are still in therapy today.
Absolutely.
Now, you're active. You're working?
I'm working. Got into a wonderful company, and got into the car business and within the management team there, and been there since almost within a month of moving here.
Yeah.
And so I had to find something. Basically, at the end of my career, I could have gone one of two ways. I could have, I got medically retired. And the other part is they could have put me on 100% disability as well. And I told them I wasn't disabled. I was crippled, but I wasn't disabled. So I was going to find something that I could do to be productive, because I still had a young family, and I was going to figure out whatever that was that would work physically and then work for all of us, so I could continue to take care of them.
Wow, Jeremy. And, the thing about it is God brings people together on purpose, intentionally, providentially. Kelli has struggled. You lost your baby sister.
Yes, sir.
In a wreck.
Oh, yeah.
That you survived.
Yes, sir. I was 10, and my mom was driving. It was my brother, sister, and I, and it was a rollover. She passed away pretty much immediately.
Yeah, yeah. When you were 10, how in the world, because you were on site, you were part of the accident, how in the world do you make it through something like that?
Honestly, they didn't tell me for a couple of days that she had passed, because I was in and out of surgeries. They thought I was going to pass away too. We weren't wearing seatbelts. I mean, it was in the 80s. It was a single cab truck with 3 kids. But when they told me, our daughter's named after my sister, Katie.
Wow.
I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. We were best friends. So
yeah,
it was rough. It was a rough time.
And that's Oklahoma, right? Is that where that?
That actually happened in Tennessee. My dad had moved from Oklahoma to Tennessee with the hotel company.
Oh, okay. Okay. Y'all, that is something you never get over, Kelli. I lost my baby brother, and we were already nearly adults, and you don't get through something like that. Now, tell me, guys, when did you guys come to faith? I know you guys love Jesus. Jeremy serves here at Cross Brand. In any place we need him, but especially in security, and Kelli is part of the worship team, and they're just the sweetest people ever. But tell me your faith story.
Kelli's guitar playing came from that accident.
No, I didn't know that.
That was her physical therapy to get her arm going again.
No way.
That's where she learned to play guitar.
The only thing holding my arm together at the time was my skin. I thought my arm was gone when you wake up from the accident, because it was just flinging. But yeah, the doctor says get her on a guitar. After being strapped down for 8 months. So that's how that all started.
And so, did you ever think in a million years when you were 10 and learning to play guitar that you'd be leading worship? And
absolutely not.
Part of a worship ministry?
No, but I'm so blessed to be here. This is amazing.
Makes sense. Only on the other side of a tragedy does Romans 8:28 make sense, when Paul told the Romans, that all things work together for good. God's got a plan, and it is so ouchy and it's so tender in on this side of a crisis and during the crisis. But on the other side, you look back and you go, oh, God was putting some things in place, this huge plan. So tell me about your journey to faith.
I grew up.
Did y'all have a background as far as faith? And
we
family?
did. Obviously separately growing up, not together, but I, always gone to church. But it wasn't until I was in boot camp and we went to a non-denominational service. Each denomination had their service time or whatever.
Sure.
And I picked a non-denominational. Sitting there, I realized that, I'd gone to church all those years, but I hadn't made that one time on purpose decision. And I was like, holy smokes. And I just sat there and thought about it. I was like, man, I've never said that. So I was 18 years old, boot camp.
Invited Christ in your life.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a cool story. What about you, Kelly?
I grew up going to church as well. My parents religiously started going after the wreck, but then when we moved overseas, it stopped. And honestly, I didn't go back to church until, in our early years of our marriage. We found a non-denominational church in Prescott, and it wasn't until here that I came to faith, truly. Good.
That's a good story. And so you beat the odds, though. You know that, right? Most people, if they don't come to faith in their early teens, they don't. Not in the current, culture. It's always been the leading statistic, But you God let you beat the odds.
Amen.
God let you beat the odds.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Cross Brand, folks, listen to this. Listen how we got them. We got them through guilt. Maybe that Marine Corps guilt, I don't know, but we got them through guilt. Tell that story about how we got you.
Well, we had done our membership meeting, and one of the where you're going to serve, and Kelly had picked music, and a church we'd gone to before back in Arizona. She had done some music and stuff with them, and so we were hanging out after a Wednesday night service, and she had jumped up with Cody and the band, was learning the new music, learning the chords and different stuff. And so you got some sneaky people that found out while I was just hanging out, kids were down at youth running around in the arena, and found out a little bit about my background. And as I slowly told them, as they slowly got it out, it was like, hey, we got a spot for you here. And then to serve on the team. And then it wasn't much longer where that said, hey, you came up to me and said, hey, pray about it, but you're going to be the next safety team leader. And
Voluntold,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that was 6 years ago. So it's been a good place to reconnect. Being retired from law enforcement, moving away from your people. Your team, your guys. I've worked with some amazing people, and when you leave that, now you're halfway across the country. You've lost that circle. You've lost those people you worked
your
with.
people.
Well, lo and behold, here we are, and you start running into these people, and now you're running back in the same circle, because that's just kind of how we do it, And so we keep a pretty tight circle, but so it's been good.
The only thing that bothers me about Jeremy's role here is when I get caught in the crossfire between him and a Green Beret or an Air Force guy.
Yeah, it's all right.
I never realized how comical it can be to get intersected between the different branches of the military after they've been out a while. Or a cool thing to me, cool Jeremy story, is when we have Vietnam vets, Marine Corps, that have been out a long time. And all of a sudden, just seeing them interact together, such a brotherhood.
Sure.
That nobody, I'm an outsider. I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it, and it's an incredible thing. Tell us about the other guilt though, about the ball cap at the rodeo.
Oh, that's how we found Cross Brand. We hadn't been here but a month. It was that Rose City Roundup used to be third week of September, and we'd been around ranching in the Prescott World's Oldest Rodeo and lived up that and had always been around it. And we came here and our son runs down and he finds the sale barn. What we found out later was
Right.
the sale barn, and he shows up with in the bleachers with 2 caps. It's a Cross Brand Cowboy Church.
I forgot that story.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
I said, "What are you doing with these?" And he goes, "Well, I just thought they were cool looking caps. You know, we got a lot of hats." And so he found I said, "Man, we don't know what this place is." we literally showed.
That's awesome.
We literally showed up to a rodeo and found church.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same place.
Yes.
In the big covered arena, and we sat out and we're like, "What is this place?" And
Yeah.
we'd been going to a little church with her parents, and it wasn't a good fit. You know, it wasn't. The youth group had 5 kids, and 2 of them were mine.
Sure.
And we were kind of looking a little bit, and we just, showed up for a rodeo, and here we are.
Amen.
And that was 2016.
That's something.
Going on.
That is something else.
And so I found a website and was looking and pulled up some old sermons because we'd been we'd had a few issues with some
Sure.
and so it's like
Good for you, though. Good for you.
I said I'm not just going to jump in without knowing what I'm listening to.
Much respect.
And so I listened so I told Kelly, and I said, "Man, let's go try this place,"
Yeah.
And so the first few times we came, she kept looking over at me, and she was obviously enthralled by the music to start with. But she says, "Is that him? Is that talking about you?" Oh. And it was, I think you were up with Macaulay up in Colorado gathering all those cattle.
Yeah.
So you were gone a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Is that him?" And I said, "No, I don't know who this is, but he's pretty good, you know?" And then all of a sudden I nudged her a couple weeks later. I said, "That's him right there." Because all I had seen is or not even seen is just listening to the audio, the
right.
sermons and different stuff. And we were like, "Wow, okay, this is it's not even knowing us," and felt like we had so much going on. We moved here. I didn't have a job. We didn't have our house in Arizona was for sale. I mean, we had so much going on, and the kids starting a new school, and we just were like, "Man, this is it." And we.
I promise you, every sermon since we started here, no matter what your topic is, I go home and I said, "Okay, I needed that because that related to what I needed right now."
Good. Well, that just keep praying for me. But you guys know that's just God.
Oh,
absolutely.
It is no different from what happened that day in 2015.
Yeah,
on the interstate as a protector. Different levels of shepherding, my brother.
You bet.
Different levels of caretaking. We have covered a lot. The only thing we hadn't covered is Jeremy is a part of a great company that sells for the wrong brand, but we love him anyhow. Jeremy's at Pelche. Great. They've been good to you, and it is interesting that you, of course, if you could see Jeremy has the ultimate cop face. And he always does until you can get him talking about his kids or a goat or something like that. And so it was always interesting to me. You started out in sales.
I did. I had no idea. I was literally crippled and had no idea. I'd done what I'd done for all those years, and now I was almost immobile. And so I said, somebody had recommended it to me, and they said, "It's people and cars." But he said, "Find a good place." And so I did, and sold cars for just a year, and then got promoted. And it's amazing the company I work for, because we've become a big sponsor up here.
Yeah, that's right.
Between
they've been good to us.
The pro rodeo, the PBR,
That's right.
livestock show, and it's so neat to people get to see you, and then all of a sudden they show up at the dealership getting their oil changed, and they're like, "You're that guy."
You're that guy.
And I'm like, "No, I'm really not." But yeah. This is what I do during the week, and so
it's been good, Jeremy.
It is. Oh, it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Good. Yeah, it's been good.
And so it's taken care of us well, and we've got to do a lot of things, and but being involved in the community has been huge for them. And like I said, my I mean, I've got a boss that went to college on a Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo
Oh,
scholarship.
really? I didn't know that.
So he is, he's just really involved and loves being up here helping the kids. And he goes to Six Flags over Jesus. So, when he gets to,
AKA Green Acres. We
Yeah.
love Green Acres.
so when he gets to come up here and, he has a good time. And,
Yeah,
and there's several other, events and stuff
Yeah.
that, that they do. But, it's fun. I get to kind of be the point man between here and work and,
That's right.
and for different
That's right.
events and stuff like that. So it's been neat.
All right. Well, folks, there you got it. Great interview today with Kelli and Jeremy Barr, our dear friends, part of the worship team, part of the safety team here at Cross Brand. We thank you for listening to Withstood today. God bless.